Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chandra and today's video is a three-part series, Representation Matters. In this video, I'll be talking about ethnicity and how this comes into play for the books that I read. I'm going to take a moment to be really honest and vulnerable. This is not a subject that I'm comfortable talking about, and that's why I think it's important for me to talk about it. My family is originally from the Caribbean islands. My grandfather on one side was Chinese, the other was of African descent. My grandmother on one side was East Indian and on the other French Creole and English descent. So I have a varied background. I was raised in a very conservative household, so I didn't start reading fiction until I was about 16. And even in that time, the nonfiction that I read was very limited to religious texts. I have never really read about a character who looks like me. And that's not surprising because I do have a very diverse background. But finding aspects of characters that are similar to me is something that I started looking for as I got older. I didn't even realize that I wasn't writing characters that look like me because it was drilled into my head that characters don't look like me. So it wasn't until much later when I started reading more diverse characters that I started to realize that my characters were not diverse at all. So my question is to you, when was the first time that you read about a character that looked like you? Since I first started reading fiction, here are some of the books that were where the characters most embody aspects of my appearance or culture that I'm familiar with. And there are 7 books on this list. The first one is The Hunger Games with Rue. And if you've read that, I think she was a great character, and I loved the way that culture was brought in. Although the culture wasn't the same, especially after I watched the movie, it was the first time that I saw a character who had hair like mine. Number 2 is Divergent with Christina. Christina wasn't so much about the culture. I'd had a similar hairstyle, but very different backgrounds. But at least seeing someone who had a similar complexion, it was different, and I was surprised to see that she was so close to the main character and therefore stayed in the story quite often. Number 3 is The Handmaid's Tale with Moira. Moira is also a close friend of the main character, so she is in there in some aspects, but she's not a main character. She's more so in the show than in the books, but she's still there. Number 4, The Wrath and the Dawn with Shahrzad. She is the main character, and I think this may be one of the first times that I read a main character who would have a similar complexion. This also brings in the East Indian background from my family. Although the culture is of course different, it's not so much emphasized within the book. There were some things that I think were similar. Number 5 is Dead Until Dark with Thornton. Tara and I had totally different backgrounds, but one thing that was interesting was the friendship between her and Sookie, especially in an area where it was an unusual friendship, but they did spend a lot of time together. That was my experience growing up in the South, so I could relate to that a lot more. Number 6, The Slow Regard of Silent Things. I don't specifically remember a physical description of Auri, especially since it's dark and she's underground. But one thing I do remember is a scene that describes her hair floating out around her head, and I could definitely relate to that, especially when it's humid outside. Your girl gets real floofy. And I appreciated that. It was striking enough imagery that it drew my attention to it in the book, because most of the time when I read about characters, their hair is sleek and smoothed back and pulled, just really together, or, long blonde locks. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just nice to be able to identify with a character about something like that. Number 7 is Zoe from Big Damn Hero, which if you may be more familiar with this from the Firefly series or the movie Serenity. And I I don't remember Zoe from her description in the book. I'm going to be completely honest. I remember her from the series Firefly, and that's how I more so identify with her. So no matter how she's described in the book, that is how I see Zoe. And there's so much about the character that I respect. She's second in command. She's Mal's right hand. She's definitely in charge. I feel like she's so intelligent. She's so well-rounded. She has a healthy relationship, and she's the muscle and he's the pilot, and their dynamic is so different from anything else that I had read. So I really love seeing her in that role, from the book to the show to the movie, all of it. If you haven't seen it, definitely do that. One thing, a closing thought I want to leave you with for this video. This list is 7 out of 325 books that I've read. And of these, 2 books have the diverse character cast as the main character. And those are the characters that most represent me in everything that I've read. This isn't so much a go-do, just a moment of awareness for me and for other authors. Think about what your character cast looks like. And if you're like me and you unintentionally don't write diverse characters, think about why that might be and how you can round out your reading so that it's easier to write characters that are more similar to you. Is writing a character similar to you something you'd even be comfortable with? It's okay to ask those questions. It's something that I'm just now starting to explore with myself, and this video is me just being aware of that. So thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. I would love to see what you think, or if you have any book recommendations that you feel really represent diverse characters. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.